Thank you for coming. Welcome. I'm here mainly to talk about my involvement with the Transformers and the early days of the Transformers, and to answer your questions within the amount of time we have. Before I take questions, I have a little presentation, which will probably answer a lot of the questions many of you have, and maybe prompt a few extra questions. So before I get to you, I'll do the presentation, okay? So, Paul, okay, we're here to talk about Transformers, the very early days. And I got involved with Transformers in 1983. I was an editor at Marvel Comics, and Hasbro Toys came to Marvel, as they had a couple of years earlier with G.I. Joe, and they said to Marvel, basically, we have this new toy line, we'd like you to develop it into a storyline as you did with G.I. Joe. And I wasn't involved in any of those discussions. I was an editor, had my own comics to edit, and my own responsibilities, nothing to do with this. Then in, I don't know when this conversation began with Marvel exactly, but in November of '83, Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief at Marvel at that time, got involved. So if you go to the next, so what he got involved with, he wrote the original, as you see, the Transformers treatment. He wrote the original treatment for the Transformers. Everything that has happened ever since started with this treatment, which is about 6 pages. Paul, if you slowly scroll through, it's at page 2, page 3, it's not very exciting, page 4, okay, let's stop with page 4. So that is Jim's, Jim or his secretary's typewriting, not mine. What you see is some things are crossed out. That's my handwriting. By that point, I was involved. So we were making changes. Jim decided to make changes. Hasbro, whoever the Hasbro account manager or executive he was dealing with asked for changes. I don't know. So for instance, if you know the origin of the Transformers on Earth, they crashed a spaceship, the Ark, into a volcano, into a volcanic mountain. So you see it says Mount St. Helens, and it's crossed out, it says Hillary. We decided not to use the real Mount St. Helens, we changed it to Hillary. If you look further down there, you can see the Ark is, I wish I had like a pointer, about a little past halfway down, you see the Ark is handwritten in there. Originally, Jim called it Anty, A-U-N-T-Y, that's crossed out. So you can see all of these little minor changes that turned into, you know, Transformers established mythology, you know. These little changes that we tweaked it along the way. Go to the next page. I think that might be the end of, is that the end of it? No, there's still more, another page. So here you see the introduction of Buster Witwicky, who was initially called Spike in the original treatment. And somebody at Hasbro, I think, had a problem with the name Spike. It was changed to Buster. Now, I believe Spike showed up later in later stories as another character, or there was some confusion if his name was Buster or Spike, I don't know. But in the comic, he was Buster. You can go to the next one. And here are some names: Optimus Prime, Prowl. Go to the next one. You can see Starscream is scribbled in there on the top. Originally, Starscream's name is Ulchtar. U-L-C-H-T-A-R, I believe. Okay, so you can see I was asked to cross it out and write in Starscream. Okay, so this kind of prompts where I got involved. So what happened was Jim Shooter, like I said, he wrote this whole treatment, but he farmed out the development of the individual characters to a senior editor at Marvel. For reasons I don't know, maybe it has something to do with Ulchtar, he decided he didn't like this editor's work on these characters, their names and their profiles, their personality profiles, which is what you're reading there. And he didn't go back to the editor, or maybe he did, I don't think he did, but he just decided he's going to get another writer to create these characters, create their names. Now, obviously, Optimus Prime and Prowl made the cut. Ulchtar did not. So desperately, I would say desperately, Jim Shooter went down editorial row. We had a row of offices in the office building back then, and he went to all of the experienced editor-writers, the people who had more experience as writers. He went to Larry Hama, who was the guy who developed G.I. Joe. He went to a couple other editors at that time who had experience writing. One after the other, they said no, they weren't interested for whatever reasons. I don't know. I wasn't part of that conversation. Finally, he came to me. So I was about the fourth or fifth choice. And finally came to me. I was more known as an artist editor. I had some writing experience, but mostly I did a lot of artwork for Marvel at that time. So he came to me. He said, okay, I have 26. The initial Transformers were 26 different toys. I have 26 of these toys. They need names and personality profiles. It might have been like on a Wednesday or Thursday, the week before Thanksgiving in November of '83. He says, I need them by Monday. But we have to get this to Hasbro before Thanksgiving. So over that weekend, I did the first 26 Transformer profiles and came up with all the other names, including Starscream for Oktar. And we submitted it, and Jim liked the work, and we submitted it to Hasbro, and then I was the man. And then I was the guy who continued to do that for the next 4 or 5 years, developing characters and names and so on.